Hello everybody, it's I, your lovable furry old starch. I thought we'd start today's video off with a little bit of watering. I've been taking care of this banana plant. It's not like a huge responsibility, but it's nice to look after something and see it grow. I saw on the care videos that I looked up that you just gotta water these suckers way more than you think you might have to. You literally, to my understanding, cannot overwater these guys. They crave it. So the way I like to water it is to just let the water come up to the brim of the pot, and then I just let it all drain out through the bottom. It's important, in whatever plants you have, it's important to have good drainage. Now we just sit with it until the water goes down. I also like to sprinkle the leaves with some water. Just give them that little bit of a bright sheen to the greenery. Let them know I'm thinking about them, the leaves. I'm not like a banana expert or anything. This is just what I've been doing, and it seems to be working. And now, with that out of the way, we can get to the main event.
Here comes the boy, hello boy, welcome. There he is here.
That's right, today I'll be painting. I'm going to use a very limited color palette. It's called, the yellow ochre, cadmium red, ivory black, and titanium white together are what's known as the Zorn palette. And I'm also going to be using some cerulean blue for a splash of color. But I've been thinking about painting a little fish in a balloon for weeks now. And I'm finally getting around to it, and I feel really great about that. I'm using a separate bowl to mix the cerulean blue and white. So I make a big enough mess on my palettes. I'm just trying to keep a tidy workspace. Step 1, at least the way I paint, is to slather on liquid clear. It's just like, a medium. It's thinner than the oil, than the paint, so it's kind of like mixing in a medium with your paints, but I just like to do it on the canvas. You just gotta get a good, even coverage across the whole thing. Then, you just take a paper towel, and you just wipe that bad boy down. This helps pick up the extra liquid clear that you don't need. You can see my paper towel kind of got in my paint, but that's fine. But this will just leave just like the exact right amount that you need. Anyway, I'm going to bow out real quick and just let you watch some painting happen. Uh, the important thing with painting is to just get in there and do it. You can always repaint things and make them better later. For instance, I don't know if I'm super happy with how this balloon came out, but that's okay. I can look at it later, take some time to come back at it with fresh eyes, and if I still don't like it, I'll just redo it. It'll be okay. I think maybe what it is that bright patch is too big. And now we start on the little fishy guy. Um, just gonna block in some color here. The easiest thing is to go from light to dark because light colors, if you get into them with your dark paint will just eat them up. Whereas if you go into your dark colors with your light paint, uh, you'll really just it's just gonna be kind of a mess. So I like to go in with the lighter paints first. You may notice the brush I'm using. I think it's a round tip. I don't know for sure. but I generally tend to use two brushes, and one is the filbert you saw me uh, fill in the balloon with, and the other one is this little pointy brush. I'll use a bigger brush if I have like a giant flat space to fill, but usually it's one of these two. Coloring in all his little fins here. This is a black moor goldfish, by the way. I don't know a lot about the breed, but they got them buggy eyes I like. Like I said, just block in the colors. And no matter what, if you make a mistake, you can always go over it later. If you don't like it, you just redo it. There's no law that says you can't. I'm going in with a little darker yellow now. Sort of fill in around the edge, the inside edge of some of these fins. Try to make them look rounder. I'm not 1,000% concerned with making the most realistic looking paintings. I don't know if I would call it impressionism, honestly, but that's probably about the closest thing to what I think you might call the type of painting I do. It's just a lot of vague shapes that suggest a subject rather than trying to render it, one to one to real life. It seems to work for me. I generally like the things I paint, even if right afterwards I think to myself, well, I'll never paint anything this good again. Usually I end up with something that I at least think is okay. Now I'm just painting in his little stomach here. Uh in the reference picture I was looking at, a lot of them have more orangey colors, but it's kind of hard to get like the intense orangey red that you see in the pictures with these limited colors I'm using. Trying to fill in some more fin. That's the thing about limited palettes, is that maybe you won't be able to make every color that you see, but you can usually get a pretty good sense of what a color is supposed to be. And it really cuts down on like the anxiety I feel when I try to mix colors. After this dries a little bit, I'll probably gonna have to go back over these spots with uh, black again, just to kind of darken them up a little bit, just a little bit more. I don't want them to be super dark, but uh, values are what give an object dimension. The interplay between shadows and highlights. Another thing that I've had to learn, like the hard way, is just that every painting goes through a period where it looks like butt until it doesn't. So sometimes, if you're painting something and you're not liking how it's turning out, just keep doing it. Just push on through. And on the other side, you'll probably like what you did. It's important to finish things because if you never finish things, if you just quit at the hard parts, you're never gonna get better at the hard parts. And painting is just a bunch of itty bitty decisions, all one after the other. Where can I use some more of this color? Where can I use some more of this color? Does this look right? And whatever looks right to you, that's probably right. You know, if you're enjoying yourself and you're not hurting anybody, then why not, right? Uh, take my fan brush here. I'm just kind of softening this little highlight I put on here on his little fin. And fan brushes are good for that. You can just kind of gently rake them across and just sort of fluff out some of the harshness of your highlights. You'll notice that every time I dip the brush down, I bring it back up almost immediately. That's editing. I edited out so much dead space where I'm just trying to mix colors or deciding which colors need to be mixed to make what I want to go for. And I thought you would appreciate it not having to watch an hour of dead air. Here we go again. Just sort of scraping the highlights kind of into where they need to be. And scrubbing a little more in. It's a delicate balance between shaping your colors and letting them work the way they're supposed to. Here you can see I'm working on his little face. In the Zorn palette, the ivory black the ivory black works as a sort of a bluish tone. So if you mix red into it, you get this kind of like browny purple color that looks really nice. Almost like a burgundy. And, once again, just trying to add dimension. Here I'm trying to soften up the line between his little stomach area and the top half of his body, just kind of making it a less harsh line. I don't blend a lot, but sometimes you don't want your lines to be too harsh sometimes. And here's the reason I didn't push for orange so much in his little stomach region, because I wanted his eyes to really pop. Black moor goldfish have these really intense orangey colored eyes, and I painted this one way too far up to the front of his face. But I fixed it later, it's okay. Here you can see I'm anchoring my pinky against the canvas so that I can paint in these little pupils. It just sort of gives me some stability. I got shaky hands. Here's where I realize I painted the eye too far in one direction. I promise I fix it. Once again, shadows and highlights, adding dimension. You don't need a lot either. A little bit goes a long way. Here I kind of push that eye back towards the side of his face. Just a little bit. A little more highlight. Beep. You could wrangle with these fins forever. But eventually you just gotta kind of let it be. You don't wanna work something too much, or you'll just end up with a big soupy mess. Now I'm going back in and filling in the spaces near the fish that I couldn't get with the filbert brush. You can see I don't really put a lot of I had to zoom in there because some dingus got his head in the shot. And you're not here to see a dingus's head. You're here to see this nice fish boy. But you can see that I don't really put a lot of effort into covering up like 100% my my sketch lines. I feel that the magic of painting is the process. So if you can see some of my underpainting, that's fine. If certain elements don't exactly match up super great, that's fine. Um, I kind of like the artifice of these kinds of things showing through. And maybe you don't, and that's all right too. You paint your way. I'm not here to tell you how to paint. I'm just here to try to encourage you to not even necessarily paint. You could paint, you could draw, you could make songs, uh, you could bake. Whatever you do it with vigor. Now I'm zooming back out because the dingus got his head out the frame. Just unapologetically create. You don't have to be great, and you don't have to be perfect because just by doing something, you're already great. Here I try to fix this big bright patch with more brightness, and I don't know if it worked. The fish works though. I like the fish. I should paint fish more often. Well, I think here's where I'm going to leave you and just let you watch me do some touch ups off the frame because I don't know how to do videos. But don't worry, my camera died not too long after this, so you won't have to watch for long. All right. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you guys later.